Absolutely. Good to be here.
So what are you expecting? Can these tensions ease between the U.S. and Germany? What do you think will be important to watch between the two in this meeting?
Well, I'm sure Trump will be charming. He always is. But they do have very serious disagreements. And it's strange that much of the media seems to, I mean, with this obsession with NATO, see Merkel as more of an ally and Putin as the enemy. Well, right now, the real enemy of the United States and all of Western civilization is radical Islam, and Putin is obviously a much better ally in that fight than Merkel is. She's inviting all of these Muslim migrants in. They have to have training programs for the refugees. Don't rape the German girls. I mean, you'd think that they'd be able to control themselves. Hey, everybody, just for the next 6 months, try not to rape anyone. And they can't do it. They can't do it. She's not only destroying Germany, she's destroying all of Western Europe. The whole idea of the NATO alliance was to oppose a communist Soviet Union bent on world domination. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. So we really are setting this, as Obama ridiculed and the entire media ridiculed Romney for one stupid remark in the 2012 campaign. This is really a 1980s Cold War mentality that bears no relation to what's happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, Romney obviously was right in his assessment a couple of years ago. Let me ask you about immigration. President Trump is pushing ahead with this.
Actually, he backed off that.
Yeah. He backed off of it.
He retracted that. Like a week later, he went on Wolf Blitzer and said, Russia, what I meant by Russia being our #1 geopolitical foe is they sometimes oppose us in the UN. That's far from the #1 geopolitical foe.
Wow. Why would he do that? I mean,
because he's weak and he lost.
Because it isn't.
Yeah. Sorry, Ann.
I mean, that's what Obama quite successfully made fun of him for, and John Kerry at the Democratic National Convention, saying what, Al-Qaeda isn't, ISIS isn't, our #1 geopolitical foe is Russia. I mean, I don't want to live in Russia. I don't want to live in any other country. I wanted to live in America. But Russia has been dealing with the Chechnyan Muslims and lots of Islamic terrorism for centuries now. They warned us about the Tsarnaev family, the Boston bombers, and our government officials ignored them. The fight now is with Islam, which openly says they're going to come into our country, our various countries, the West, infiltrate and turn us all Muslim. This is the new Soviet threat. There is no Soviet threat. Ronald Reagan won the Cold War. But now suddenly the New York Times, which forgave Stalin for the Ukrainian famine and the gulags and the show trials, no, they can't get past, no, this Russian leader they're suddenly upset about.
So what do you make of this travel ban pushback then? I mean, the president's pushing ahead with the revised travel ban, vowing to fight these rulings, but it's 2 federal judges, Hawaii and Maryland, that halted his order. What do you make of this pushback?
He's absolutely right, and I mean, he may not want to do it, but I really think these district court judges need to be ignored. It's completely outrageous what they've done. There is no precedent for what they've done. They are basically eliminating the presidency. We have 3 branches of government. They have different roles, and Congress and President and the executive branch, they have complete control over who comes in and doesn't come out of the country, as the Supreme Court has said for more than 100 years, starting with the Chinese exclusion cases. I had a column a few weeks ago that went through to the point of tedium, and I didn't cite all of the cases, about 10 cases. Supreme Court cases saying it is 100% the prerogative of the president. It's an extension of his role as the commander-in-chief and dealing with foreign policy to decide who gets in and who doesn't get into the country. I mean, for these courts to say, yes, but it affects our citizens. Well, okay, then a decision of the commander-in-chief to go to war affects their citizens. Some of their citizens may sign up, and they could be killed. That surely affects their rights. So can some district court judge someplace in the country say, I'm sorry, the commander-in-chief may have declared war, but we can't go because I'm a district court judge? The courts have been outrageous and gotten out of control for a long time, and I think the only way to stop them is to recognize the constitutional framework, which does not put a district court judge above the President of the United States. In fact, the President, I mean, there are three co-equal branches, but the President is the only branch where the entire authority of that branch is invested in one man, as opposed to hundreds and hundreds of federal court judges. One little dinky district court judge is going to overrule the President?
Yeah, but why isn't he doing that then, Dagan? I mean, you know, if the federal judges can overrule, then how come that's not what's happening? I mean, they've shut this down.
Yes, I mean, it's a bold step. It's been done before. The reason there is this sort of judicial tyranny isn't because the Supreme Court says, and district court judges are more important and they can overrule the decision of a president. It's because it's a scheduling matter. They have the last word. And it's always been considered, you know, sort of, you know, a dramatic step, certainly, for a president to say, but they've done it before, to say, as who is it? Is it Andrew Jackson who said, okay, the Supreme Court has ruled, now let them enforce their ruling? No, they're co-equal branches, and the president would be completely within his rights to say this decision is insane. I mean, what if you had a crazy judge? There are all kinds of decisions a judge could issue if they can issue this decision. Right. There is no precedent for this.
Brian Brenberg.
Ann, are you happy with the way the president and his administration are selling this to the public? There's some sense that the public is maybe getting less interested. They don't feel like this is really helping them. Is he selling this the right way? Does he have to do something different?
If you mean the travel ban,
yeah.
No, I think the public is with him. That's why he won the election. And I must say, all of the public approval polls of President Trump, I keep, you know, tweeting out, according to the polls on Election Day, he had, I think it was a 6% chance of winning Michigan, an 11% chance of winning Pennsylvania, and so on and so forth. I mean, these public opinion polls, apparently you need to add about 30 points to the public approval of Trump.
Lee Carter is sighing, Ann, because that's what she does for a living. But
our two countries must continue to work together to protect our people from radical Islamic terrorism and to defeat ISIS. I applaud Chancellor Merkel for Germany's contributions, both civilian and military, as a counter-ISIS coalition member. We also recognize that immigration security is national security. We must protect our citizens from those who seek to spread terrorism, extremism, and violence inside our borders. Immigration is a privilege, not a right. And the safety of our citizens must always come first.
Now, we've been covering in depth on this show how President Trump has promised to do everything within his power to stop radical Islamic terrorists from entering this country and putting you, the American people, in danger. Now, he plans on doing that in part by enacting extreme vetting of refugees. However, as we told you last night, the alt-radical obstructionist left here in America is trying to stop the president, and by doing so, they are showing that they are perfectly willing to gamble with your lives, the lives of the American people. At this point, in my opinion, the left here at home, they want to copy Germany and Europe's practice of letting waves of unchecked refugees pour into their countries. But tonight, the alt-radical left, they may want to think twice about this, and we'll show you exactly why. Now, here at home, we've seen an increase in radical Islamist attacks. Top officials have repeatedly warned that ISIS can, in fact, infiltrate the refugee population. And according to the FBI, there are 1,000 active ISIS-related cases right now in all 50 states. And earlier this month, the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, revealed this shocking statistic about these ongoing investigations. Take a look.
Today, more than 300 people, according to the FBI, who came here as refugees are under an FBI investigation today for potential terrorism-related activities.
And in Europe, it's become far worse and more violent. Now, the continent has become the epicenter of terrorist attacks against the West. Now, since 2014, Europe has taken in over 3 million refugees and asylum seekers. Germany has led the way in Western Europe by accepting nearly 900,000 refugees in 2015 alone. Last month, Germany's Domestic Security and Intelligence Agency, the BFV, said the number of radical Islamists in the country has grown considerably, rising from just 100 in 2013 to almost 1,600 this year. And what we've seen is devastating and brutally violent attacks. Now, in November 2015, radical Islamists, they launched a series of attacks in Paris targeting a stadium, a cafe, a concert hall, where they slaughtered 130 people and wounded hundreds of others. And then in March of 2016, explosions at the airport and a metro station rocked the city of Brussels. On that case, 34 killed, and that's 34 innocent travelers, including Americans, 150 injured. And a few months later, in the city of Nice in France, during the French National Day, a truck attack killed 84 people, including 10 children. More than 200 others are injured. And days before Christmas in 2016, in Berlin, Germany, an Islamist plowed a truck into a crowded Christmas market, 12 dead and 50 more injured. Here's the bottom line here. Liberals in this country can continue to be naive, have a pre-9/11 mindset with the hopes that another major attack is not going to happen. They can hope, they can pray, or we should be smart and vigilant and fully aware of all these dangers we face and allow President Trump to harden the policies and procedures so we can keep all of you and all of America and all of our children safe.